The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Games will be indistinguishable from reality, or civilization will end.
As far as demographic change is concerned, what we're really talking about is the fact that populations are aging. Life expectancy is on the up, birth rates are coming down. And when you combine that together, it means that working age populations are shrinking relative to the size of the overall.
Thanos was right. The villain from the recent Avengers film, whose snap erased 50% of all life in the universe, that killed characters we adored, and the good guys fought tooth and nail to reverse, was right. That is the very premise of a popular article I read recently that has now since been deleted. That premise is wrong. Thanos was wrong. What is right is the exact opposite. Something that Elon Musk has warned people for years now. A ticking population time bomb. I'll break it down for you right now. The world isn't overpopulated. It's a myth. It seems logical that at some point, a population density will be achieved that is no longer sustainable from a food, energy, and waste perspective. This is not a careful reading of the current data or trends. For instance, take a look at this chart. Besides the UN, an organization that has a Wikipedia page dedicated to its scandals, many experts believe that the global population, currently at 8 billion, will cap out around 2080 and then begin a dramatic decline.
The biggest issue in 20 years will be population collapse. Not explosion, collapse. It's very easy to see what the world will look like in 20 years. Because humans have a 20-year boot sequence. So like you say, okay, well, who was born last year? Okay, now you know what the world looked like in 20 years.
Women are having fewer than 2 babies in the US and in much of Western Europe. Additionally, China is actually having a crisis with the majority of its young people being male and a shrinking workforce. The Chinese even revoked their one-child policy. Not to mention, college-educated women are having the fewest babies. This is Elon Musk's point about being underpopulated. He's concerned the smartest people are having the fewest kids, something that we pointed out in our Idiocracy video. Check it out right here. Anyone who makes the argument that we're overpopulated is relying on outdated models, or they are misinterpreting the data. The real danger, as Elon Musk is warning, is we are facing a population collapse in which the number of people on the planet plummets, not because they were killed by Thanos, but because so many younger generations are choosing not to have children. In the crypto industry, it's easy to get lost about why things like this should matter. But many economists teach that demographics is the most important factor in calculating GDP.
The way to calculate GDP is population growth plus productivity growth plus debt growth. Those are the 3 large factors that define how GDP moves, the wealth of nations. We have for a long time, and it's been the observable macro trend of my lifetime or my working career, is that we have been in a slowdown in population growth globally, so an aging demographic.
We're going to talk a lot about depopulation in this video, but stay tuned because we want to give you another premonition that Elon Musk has made for humanity that might even be worse. I'm Isaiah McCall from 99 Bitcoins. Let's talk about it. But first, a word from our sponsor. Today's video is brought to you by SpacePay. SpacePay is a brand new revolutionary crypto software that's meant to integrate with traditional credit card systems. Just imagine, you can spend your crypto with the cards that you carry every single day. More information on SpacePay in the description below. Now back to the video. The terrible shortage of young people.
What does a declining birth rate mean in terms of both countrywide and global GDP?
It's not good. There's nothing good about it.
People say there was only 2 billion people on the planet 100 years ago. Why is it a problem that we would go back to that?
The transition is a problem. One other factor is that we have no example of a country that went through this and came out the other side, unless it was a period of famine or war.
There is no doubt that the world's population is growing. In 1950, there were 2.5 billion people. In 2022, there are 8 billion. The world's population more than doubled in just over 70 years. Scary, right? But here's the thing, you have to look at trends, not just raw numbers. When you do that, a very different picture emerges.
So let's dig into demographics. Here is the birth rate per 1,000 people. It's been collapsing. Now, there is immigration, but it's not enough. So what we really care about in economics terms is how productive are those people? Well, they need to be in the labor force to be productive, and it's been falling over time. So when you're faced with this slowing of productivity and population growth, you end up building up debt growth. This is the labor force participation rate versus government debt as a percent of GDP. Now, it's inverted here, but you can see government debt as a percent of GDP is driven by demographics.
The current trend is that young people aren't having babies at the rates of the silent generation. the boomers' parents. In fact, it's the complete opposite. College-educated women are having the fewest babies in human history, and fertility rates are falling all over the world. When you have fewer people reproducing, the trend compounds itself as future generations join the fold. My Harvard-educated cousin has already decided not to have children and pursues career as a lawyer instead. Dual income, no kids. Dink, he told me. We have become obsessed with work and not making families. As soon as society started requiring both parents to get jobs, population growth halted like a car running out of gas. According to a 2022 study by UPenn titled The Decline of Fertility, the Role of Marriage and Education, married women are at least 3 percentage points more likely to have a child than unmarried women. And simultaneously, marriage rates among women aged 25 to 29 declined 15.9% since 2006. So where is the current global trend pointing us? It's pointing us towards depopulation. It's pointing us towards China.
This is a holdover from like, I don't know, the 70s or something, you know? So there was a huge baby boom, but then the birth rate in the US has been below replacement rate since like 71 or 72.
How about other countries?
China did have a one-child policy, but like about 10 years ago, they changed it to a two-child policy. And then a few years ago, they changed it to a three-child policy. And birth rate kept plummeting the whole time.
China isn't the only one that's having a population crisis, however. Japan recorded its largest natural population decline in 2022. South Korea reported a, quote, extraordinary fertility decline in 2022 as well. Not to mention, Italy and Singapore are all both in the top 10 for lowest birth rates in the world, and not one global superpower is in the top 10 for highest birth rates. What's ironic is China's one-child policy was implemented based on the Club of Rome's Limits to Growth report, which warned of overpopulation and the consequences of unchecked growth. The Club of Rome was dead wrong. They were wrong like Thanos. Their models were inspired by a man named Paul Ehrlich, who was also famous for his book, The Population Bomb. In it, he predicted that in the 1970s and 80s, hundreds of millions of people would starve to death in famines. Spoilers, there were no famines in the 1970s or 1980s. Ehrlich had it all backwards. In fact, China had to revoke its one-child policy after falling for the Club of Rome's sleight of hand. Now in the span of 8 years, China has mandated a two-child policy and more recently, a three-child policy. Population control is a recipe for disaster.
I calculated that you could fit all the humans on Earth on one floor in the city of New York.
On one floor?
On one floor, yes. Now, it'd be kind of wedged in there, but,
yeah,
you know, but...
oh, okay, so if you just kind of spread the
throughout
the city. Okay,
shoulder to shoulder,
yeah,
whatever. It's the cross-sectional area of humans is small. Like, we think that there are a lot of people, but... And that's, if you live in like London or New York, you'll be like, oh wow, there's a lot of people. But that's a very rare situation. Most of the time, you know, if you're flying, you know, across the US or internationally, it's empty.
Most important to remember is the overpopulation argument is based on current technology. These writers, critics, and environmentalists have no idea and could never know what some genius kid could do when he grows up. He or she could invent something that changes the game entirely. It's not better to play it safe as a species because we have always been about expansion and growth. And you can't forcibly stop that without devastating consequences, i.e. what's happening in China. It's similar to the issues in the early days of New York City, with horses flooding the streets with horse shit. The papers and people panicked that eventually the city would be knee-deep in shit and no one would be able to walk anywhere. Then Ford invented the Model T. Thank God someone decided to have a kid. To quote Henry Ford, "We are entering an era when we shall create resources which shall be so constantly renewed that the only loss will be not to use them." Elon Musk's solutions. Dogecoin! No, but you must be happy as a Dogecoin investor right now. Congrats to you. One of Elon's solutions can be tied up in his quote, "I wonder how many dead one-planet civilizations there are there in the cosmos. Species that never made it to another planet and were ultimately extinguished or were destroyed by external factors. There's probably a few." Elon believes that we face an existential crisis on Earth, then it will be our fault for only having been a one-planet species. His idea is that we need to find a way off Earth as a way to hedge our bets against what could potentially happen.
If life had taken 10% longer to evolve on Earth, it wouldn't exist at all.
Got a deadline coming up.
Yeah.
Better hurry. But that said, as you said, humans, intelligent life on Earth developed a lot of cool stuff very quickly. So
yes.
it seems like becoming multiplanetary is almost inevitable.
Elon Musk sees two possibilities for humanity. We stay on Earth until an eventual eternal or external doomsday event that wipes us all out. Maybe that's a billion years from now, maybe that's tomorrow, who's to say? or we become a multiplanetary species that we have a smaller chance of going extinct. With the prospect of World War III being debated by political pundits, if we ever suffered a nuclear attack, then a civilization on Mars or another habitable planet could help build it back. Elon's dream is to terraform Mars, and the only way to reawaken Mars' magnetic field is to jumpstart its inner dynamo. In other words, heat Mars the hell up. This is why Elon Musk proposed to nuke Mars' atmosphere. We need to warm the damn thing up before it can ever be habitable again. He doesn't want to nuke Mars because he's a crazy narcissist sociopath. Well, he might also be that. But in the wise words of Kanye West, name one genius who ain't crazy. Final thoughts. When interviewed about the moon landing in 1969, Black residents living in Harlem echoed this sentiment. It's a brilliant achievement, but why isn't any of that money spent to fight hunger in America or get people out of poverty? In other words, there are a lot of problems on this earth, but Elon makes good points that there are things we need to fix off planet as well. Myths like overpopulation should be a non-starter. The solution of fewer people is straight up murderous.
I'll do it myself.
The world has always been corrupt since man crawled out of the mud, and it will always seem overpopulated as long as we exist because that's in our nature. The fact, however, is the opposite is the truth. Standing shoulder to shoulder, the entire world's population could fit inside the city of Los Angeles. Not to mention, we have solved many environmental problems before, and we will solve them again. Your child could be the one that changes everything. They could be the next Elon Musk, if you want that sort of thing. Hey, $1 billion is $1 billion. Believe in the power of human potential, not in the false narratives of overpopulation. And be sure to keep a close eye on this story, as demographics is always the driver of markets in the long term.
Let's have more babies and raise them on Mars. I don't get that, but okay.
Well, I just think we should be cautious about some civilizational decline and we have plummeting growth rates most places.
Right, and also plummeting resources. I mean,
no, resources will be fine.
But they're not
And
fine.
I know a lot about
They're not fine now.
No, look, I'm not suggesting complacency. We do want to move to a sustainable energy economy as quickly as possible, but we're not in any danger of resource collapse.
Hey guys, we're trying to bring a lot more long-form, high-quality videos like this to the channel. So if you like these, please comment down below, like and subscribe. Let us know so we can keep these going and so my boss doesn't fire me. And if you want to check out more of the long-form, high-quality content we're trying to do, be sure to check out videos here, there. They're probably going to pop up somewhere. So check those out. Have a good day.